You guys, at the end of the day, should say, like, no, should never exist currently in the status quo. That's how I personally feel about it. So if I were to have kids, I would tell them straight up.
Well,
My kids, my friends' kids, everything like that, we should see it as, well, Dad, Mom, you guys accepted it then. Why can't we accept it now? It's like, no, because we are trying to progress as a generation from the faults of previous generations. So in the 20s, if it's the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, where racism was a big, significant problem in itself, it is our responsibility now as the next generation to find a solution to it, and it's for our kids and grandchildren to not be in the vacuum of figuring out how do we try to create a solution to a problem that our previous generations had to face. At the end of the day, it's my responsibility to teach my kids and my grandkids, you shouldn't have to deal with this. So when I tell my friends and my other friends, like, hey, you face racism, you fight racism with love, and you also try to teach peace to it. If you see blackface, you should confront it, because if you don't, it spreads at the end of the day. That's how I feel about it.
Right. Wow, bro, you almost brought tears to my eyes. Really did almost bring tears to my eyes, because, like I told you, my homegirl has a mixed child. But what I didn't tell you was I'm also mixed.
Yeah.
I'm mixed through slavery. I'm from Antigua and Barbuda.
Ooh.
So my grandfather's Irish.
Yeah.
My grandma is, I don't really know if she's Indian or black, but when I saw her when I was younger, when I said I was 9, and she was in her mid-50s, she was straight gray. Like right now, like sometimes I gotta wonder like about myself, because it's like it just pops up. And my homegirl asked me, she's like, yo, he's 8 years old and his dad is not around. So like, how do I talk to him about his black heritage? I don't know anything about his black heritage.
Yeah.
Like, I'm white.
Yeah.
And I was stuck on stupid. Kind of wish she was there.
Yeah. So I'm Irish and black. My mom's black. My dad's white. And I grew up in a black household. My dad and my mom separated at a younger point. My mom died when I was young, and I grew up in a black household. So for me, I was surrounded by black culture, and I grew up in black culture. But at the end of the day, if you look at me, you look at my hair, you see the curls, but you'll say you're mixed. You won't identify what I'm mixed with immediately, but you'll say you're mixed no matter what. I've got white Puerto Rican, white Dominican, but when I say when I'm Irish and black, I could see the blackness, so I could see the curl somewhere. And it's just like, okay, that's understandable, but how do you tell someone who is biracial, a mulatto in some point of view, how to identify? You have to first understand what you see in yourself. So I'm very light-skinned at the end of the day.
Right.
But if I look at myself in the mirror, I know my ancestry at the end of the day. I know what my grandparents look like. I know what my siblings look like, and they're black. So at the end of the day, I identify with my blackness, but I understand that I don't get looked at as being black. I see myself as being a lighter skin, so I get the privilege of being looked at as lighter skin.
Right.
For this child or any children that see themselves in a mom that's black, dad that's black, in any combination, at the end of the day, you are mixed race, but your identification should always be biracial, but you internally should understand, what did you passionately grow up in? I didn't grow up in a white household. I didn't grow up with white benefits in the sense of like my dad didn't spoil me. I grew up in a household with 4 other grandkids, my cousins. I grew up in an inner city in a black household. So I understood what struggle meant. I understood what child support is, because that was the dynamic of what it meant to be mulatto in a black family.
Right.
So when I would say to anyone who is mulatto, who don't really understand how to identify, like not for nothing, SATs, applications, how do you identify yourself? Identify yourself what you know your identity is. I write Irish and black because I can't put African American at the end of the day because I'm not fully African American. But if you write white, they'll see you as white, skin color wise, but you as yourself at the end of the day are not that.
Right.
So I don't want to be like, oh, I'm playing both sides. Because I thought about that when I was in high school, when I was in college.
Can I ask that question? Why don't you want to feel like you're playing both sides?
Because
What's your personal belief?
Because of personal belief, because I grew up in a black household where I understood struggle. And the struggle is what is important to me at the end of the day. I grew up with grandparents who raised 6 grandkids. That is mixed across the board. All black, some black, mixed. But I understood at the end of the day, me being this color isn't going to get me further in life than my cousins, my sisters, or anyone like that. I grew up in the same culture as everyone else. I went to inner city school. I went to inner city high school. I went to inner city middle school. I went to Rutgers North. I grew up understanding that me being this color wasn't going to get me benefits. It got people's eyes on me, but it wasn't going to move anything further in my life.
What made you think it wasn't going to get you any further in life?
Because I went to an inner city school and I was asked, like, how do you identify? I know what my mom looks like. I know what my dad looks like. But I know the household I grew up in. And if I write on an application what my dad's benefits are, who's a military police officer, retired, I can get benefits that way. But I don't live in a military benefits household. I don't gain anything from that. I grew up in my grandparents' household because my mom died young. I grew up with my grandparents and my grandfather. I grew up in my grandparents raising me, my older sister, and my younger sister, with 2 of my other cousins. So I had 5 people consistently around me from the age of 8 to 18. So in my mind, I grew up what it meant to be in a poverty household, getting child support that was $300 a month due to the fact that there was a standard already in place for me. I get $300 because my mom and dad had an agreement, but that was due to the fact that my dad's white, my mom's black, and there was an agreement already placed for me. But I'm this color at the end of the day. I'm literally, you look at me and you're like, you can say, oh, he's mixed, but me and you are not the same color at the end of the day.
Not really, because now I'm gonna show you something.
Yeah.
If it was sunny outside, you'll look at my complexion and you'll be like, yo, wait a minute.
Yeah.
He's not completely black.
No, I wouldn't. I would say you're definitely mixed.
You'd be like, he's mixed because of that red melanin.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I identify with you. When I look at you right now, your features, like I identify that same red melanin.
Yeah.
Like look at my legs, you be like, yo, bro, like you're like a whole different shit.
No, you're a whole different person at the end of the day. But that's also, I was the only, not what to say mulatto, but if you looked at my graduating class in high school, I was the only white person in my class.
Right.
Because I went to University High School in the city of Newark, but if you compare to the rest of my class, I'm the only person this color. Because I grew up in inner city at the day, and I went to inner city high school. Right. But the benefits of being this color did not gain me anything. I went through the same struggle as everyone else.
Alright, so I'm going to show you why it didn't gain you anything. Alright? And this is going to blow your mind because you're going to be like, damn, why didn't I think about this? All you had to do was change your view. So, I learned this being in prison.
Yeah.
Attica Correctional Facility, D Block 42 Company, 5-cell. And there's a gray wall right there in front of my cell as I look out the window, and there's a tree. Every day a bird would come and land on that tree branch at the same time every day for the next 2 years. And every day I would look out that window and I would get pissed the fuck off because I'm just seeing this gray wall. Like, why the fuck they don't paint this shit or something like that? Why the fuck I can't see past this wall? Right? And I say, you know what, man? It's time for me to make a move because I'm getting tired of looking at this same shit. It's driving me nuts. So what did I do? I filled out for another program. Ended up going to the mess hall dorm. So now I get to see the yard. So even when I don't want to go outside, I get entertainment. I was happy. Change the environment. Change the pace. All I had to do was just realize what I didn't like anymore and just move away from it and do something else. See, you have everything that a dark person really don't have. That's where we make up for it in our vernacular. Yeah. Our charisma.
Yeah.
How we move.
Yeah.
We gotta work extra hard.
Oh no, I hear you on that.
Now check this out.
Yeah.
You got it to whereas you can pass through the wall and nobody even knows you're there.
Exactly. And I felt some type of way about that because
I wasn't supposed to feel some type of way about that. I'm gonna tell you why. because you got the family on your back, and you got to lead the family to the hills, from the slums. Like you just said, you know what that felt like. Being, you know, in poverty. So you know that. So you ain't fake. What made you fake? Because you had to do what you had to do. You and your family to exist. Bro, you're a man. That's what's that called. That's what's called.
And the crazy thing is, if I were to go outside in the city, in the inner city that I grew up in, I could accept it for being black. I could say nigga as much as I want, things like that, because I grew up in the culture, but my people knew who I was, because everyone else around me was like, oh no, I know who his sister is, I know who his brother is, I know his grandparents, because they know what I look like. But if I were to go into PA, New York, if I went to someone that was more predominantly white, and if I would drop those words, that's racist.
Why?
Because they see you immediately as being white.
Why?
Because they see my skin color at the neck.
Why?
Because they could be like, oh, you're passing something as privilege.
Why?
And they'd be like, oh no, I got my mom tatted on my back.
Why?
Because they see me as what my skin color is,
what
not
do
what
you
my parents.
See you as?
Oh, I'm black at the end of the day.
So what the fuck you give a fuck about?
Oh, I don't. I don't care.
Think about it. See?
Oh, I don't care. But it's not about what I don't care at the end of the day. Because when I get
but
viewed,
it's the classification that somebody puts you in.
Yes, but the classification is not what I care about. It's what they care about.
You see what I'm saying? And then that's what I'm trying to ask you now. It brings you back to, why do you care?
Because my classification was inner city youth, and I grew up on that. Right. Now that I'm 28, I live in a more white area. I'm predominantly white area, but I work in a business that's white, and as someone that's the only colored person in my business, I get by with, like, oh, you know, I pass for, you know, diversity at my job, but that shouldn't be enough. My job should be doing either more to higher diversity.
So how do you establish that?
I go out of my way to make sure I get people diversity higher, my own way. Right. Because I have to push that agenda. My job's not going to push that agenda, because they're, at the end of the day, they're businessmen, just like I'm a businessman.
But now I'm going to show you something. Remember when you were a kid?
Yeah.
And grandma.
Yeah.
Grandmas will make some vegetables that you don't like. Like me, I don't like asparagus.
I don't. I hear you on that. That shit's nasty. I hear you on that. Asparagus is nasty.
Like,
give me broccoli. Give me something else. Yeah. Asparagus
you
is
like.
Put
no cheese on there, nothing. I eat that thing raw too, Grandma. Just rinse it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now, asparagus, egg yolks, those type of things for me, I was like,
I don't want that.
No. Like, I would be late to school. Coming there to school with whelps on my ass. Because my mom's would be like, bro, I work too hard.
For you not to be able to eat. I hear you on that. Trust me, my grandparents would tell me the same thing. My grandma would make breakfast every day.
And I'm like, you bugging, bro. Like, I don't like the yolk. It makes me want to throw up.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I was a picky eater growing up, because that was a decision. My mom, my dad, and my grandparents are just like, what he can and can't eat, all this stuff. No, I hear you on that. Trust me. I'm at the age in my life where I can understand the identity politics, the prefaces, everything about it that made it make sense for me being younger of what I can. Identity is fluid, and I've understood that. But to me, as a core, I identify as an Irish black man who grew up in the city of Newark, and at this point in his life, I'm surrounded, that I grew up, black friends, black culture, that's who I'm with. When I'm with my white friends and everything like that, it's for me to be able to say, like, I could drop the N-word and they'll feel some type of way. But like, that's my culture at the end of the day. And I make it my intention and my attentive to make sure that they don't say the N-word, because like, that's not for you. That's my culture at the end of the day. You can listen to rap music. You can respect rap music at the end of the day. But when...
It's all our culture, because I'm going to show you why. All our cultures are intertwined. So no matter, like, that's what I was trying to explain to you before about, it derived from a negative standpoint. But no matter what, it's history.
But whose history at the end of the day?
It's all our history.
Really?
Because even though you may have been on the giving end, you still have a history to our history. Just like we're on the receiving end, we still have a history to your upbringing. Because we're the reason why you got there. It's the same reason, like, we're here while you're there.
So if that's true, then it goes back to a previous point in our conversation about slavery. Because I should feel upset if someone brings up to the point now, it's just like, oh, you shouldn't feel some type of way about blackface. No, that person who's doing blackface now is being drawn from a previous notion of blackface between either the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. At some point in history, blackface was predominantly figured in movie culture, acting culture, school culture in some way or form. It was bad. But now that we are in a more progressive time, we should acknowledge the fact that, no, we're progressive. We should be thinking forward and trying to resolve our past.
You know why blackface
it's bad? It's bad because of the fact.
so popular as well?
Why?
It was a deterrent.
Yeah. You scare people away.
It would scare us away from wanting to be actors.
Yeah.
You got to understand something. It's called neutralizing. They knew what talents we had because, of course, we're the ones that cleaned their houses.
Yeah.
We're the ones that washed their clothes. We're the one that taught
We're also
them.
the one that's to create jazz, rock and roll. We're the ones that you literally build to back off everything that is culture at the end. Now, I'm not going to take away.
You understand
I understand.
Why I said we all got the history.
We all have history, but at the end of the day, let me ask this to you, and you give me your opinion, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Black Lives Matter, right? It should always. I'm going to say Black lives should always matter.
I hate that shit.
All right, let me pick your brain while we're still recording.
Yeah,
So Black lives should always matter because at the end of the day, the moment you say all lives matter, you take out of the vacuum the concept of my life is more important than someone else's life. So let's start. It's like a stepping stone at the end of the day. So I tell you Black Lives Matter, and you respond back, no, all lives matter. But wait, my conversation with you was a starting point of saying, hey, what's your name at the end of the day? Jason, I'm Sean. So Jason, I'm saying your lives matter. And you say, no, all lives matter. I'm like, no, Jason, I'm saying that at the end of the day, if something bad happened to you and it was a racial issue, or something that happened to you, police brutality, anything at all, I'm saying Black lives should be a starting point of a conversation. And if someone says, no, Jason would have said all lives matter because I know him. It's like, wait, why are you taking away from Jason's conversation that I'm bringing up? Because I'm trying to start at a standpoint or at a beginning of a conversation that, don't forget Jason, he was black. But if someone who may not be black or may be black, it's just like, no, all lives matter. Like, no. Jason today was black. Just like I'm black, just like a lot of people are. The moment you take away Jason's ownership of his life at the end of the day, you take control of the conversation. At the end of the day, you died as a black man. But once you say, oh, he's no longer black, all lives matter, then everything outside of your life and including every other life that dies takes it into like, oh, Jason's a back figure now. It's like, no. Jason was the starting point of the conversation. Because if I never brought up Jason, you would have never brought up our lives.
Right.
So in my mind, and this is why I'm saying it to you, is that the fact that BLM should be a starting point of a conversation, and it's not BLM versus all lives. It should be BLM is a starting point of a conversation that leads to the rest of the conversation. Don't try to make it a us versus them conversation. Because think like this. Do you and how this is how I'm also going to take it. You can say Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matters, but then you make the conversation, and it's not about slavery versus something else. But once you start comparing disabilities or like social problems, it's just like, oh, well, slavery is the same thing as the Holocaust. No. Slavery is something that's continuously existing. There are different forms of slavery. You have the prison complex system. You have 1960 up until Jim Crow laws. You have this vacuum that exists. Holocaust is an individual, unique instance that happened. And you can't compare the existences or compare the problems. At the end of the day, black culture is still under a form of slavery at some point. A Holocaust existed and millions of people died. Black culture and black people have consistently died under slavery, and black people are still dying under slavery now. Following?
I'm following.
So my point is, at the end of the day, people make the comparison of Black Lives Matter is either greater or less than Black Lives Matter, and those two aren't starting points of our conversation. No, you're good. Black Lives Matter is a discussion of we are trying to have a narrative of saying this is important. Do not take away the importance of this conversation. What All Lives Matter does is try to say, wait. We understand what you're saying, but we want to include everyone. No. Black Lives is not saying don't include everyone. Start at the starting point. Start at the discussion of you, me, anyone who starts under black culture or black identification at the end of the day. You could be mulatto, you could be biracial. That is where it says no. Because
I'm listening to you.
But that's the logic of where it gets taken away, because all lives matter discussions, just like, oh no, you're like, not for nothing. You think of anything that in the past 4 years are just like, oh, you know, police brutality, things like that. They're going to immediately say, oh, Black Lives Matter, and you know, that person fell under police brutality, but did they deserve police brutality? No one deserves police brutality, because at the end of the day, they were a victim to a crime that they did not deserve. So once the public says that life matters, the narrative then gets turned to their lives matter versus all lives matter. All lives, at the end of the day, there are 320 million people plus in the United States. But if you were to die now, we should make a focal point of you died under what? Drug abuse, police brutality, something like that. But we want your death to mean something to create change. All Lives Matter does not try to create change. They try to acknowledge the overall problem of something that exists. Oh, drug abuse. But placebo effects do not create real world change.
Now watch this. I'm glad that you said, hold on, let me go grab this piece of like.
Yeah, do your thing. I'm just.
Shout out to my boys at Hackensack Brewery. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. They keep my whistle wet. So, now check this out.
Here we go. 14-0. We'll take it.
Called it.
Mm-hmm.
So give me a refresher again. I'm going to give it to you.
So at the end of the day, BLM should be a starting point of a conversation of why all things should be a problem. All Lives Matter tries to be a placebo effect to trying to create a solution to all issues. We're not trying to create a solution to all issues. We're trying to create a narrative point that like a Black life should be a starting point of a conversation to create real world change. All Lives Matter does not create real world change at the end of the day.
Okay. So now, I'm going to show you something. Mm-hmm. When I hear BLM, it makes me cringe because I was once a negative person.
Okay.
And an uneducated negative person. So check this out. Mm-hmm. Remember what you were saying earlier about your ancestry and being, you know, uneducated and allow these things to happen?
Yeah.
I said that in a conversation with a brother of mine last week, where I said, you know, we are holding on to education that family members passed down to us, which they never did no research to understand what it meant.
Okay.
So we took it in stride because that's our grandmama, that's our uncle, somebody of stature. Instead of going into Wikipedia or something like that and trying to understand what that really meant. Yeah. So a lot of us is walking around here on false pretenses, so I agree with you. And I was like, wow, that's why I'm like, yo, bro, I'm rocking with you right now because you're talking some real dope shit. And now, when I hear Black Lives Matter, I'm looking at it from a negative point of view, like, wait a minute, if I was white, what the fuck about me?
Yeah.
You know, that's why I said I really don't like that. Because if you chop it up in different ways, you see, like, it could be viewed anyway, you have to accept it that way. Because at the end of the day, you gotta look at how it sounds.
Yeah.
From that person's point of view. Versus how it really is, which I can understand. So now, with that being said, I'd rather say not even all lives matter. Mm-hmm. I'd rather say justice and equality matters. Okay. Because then justice and equality is on a scale. It balances out.
Okay. Ooh,
so it's no vision. It's no color, no nothing to it.
Ooh, I like how you said that.
There's no color, no nothing to it. I told you I was gonna trip your brain, man.
But you are tripping my brain. But then I got something right here.
I know. I see it. I see the gears turn. Yeah. Like, bro, I'm telling you, like, it shouldn't be that way. Because, like, let's not segregate. Mm-hmm. Let's balance it out.
Okay. So let me ask you this. You say justice and equality should be a scaling factor. Mm-hmm. How do you identify justice?
So let me show you something.
Because justice right now currently isn't fair to African Americans or any person of color.
Oh, trust me, I know that.
So how can inequality, if you say justice and equality should be the deciding factor, if equality isn't something that's on the spectrum of one, not just black people, but any person of color, and someone who is a white descendant or white passing, how are they then not taking advantage of that? So when you say...
now we gotta now study. I know a lot of people may not believe in the Bible, Quran, or whatever it is like that, but I gotta take this reference out of there. The Bible says, "Study and show yourself approved."
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So even in class, your teacher would tell you to study and show yourself approved.
Tell you to read.
You know what I mean?
Tell you to educate yourself. No, I hear that.
And tell you to step in front of the class and see if you did your homework from the last night. So now, once you study and show yourself, then you can show yourself approved, because now you know what's right from wrong. Like, let's say for instance, you call it down the middle. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be, okay, well, because that's my cousin, I'm going to be lenient. No, my cousin got to get 25 too.
Yeah. So let me ask you that then. So if we were to flip it over and then I tell you, hey, justice and equality on the spectrum has been biased because justices or judges, district attorneys, judges across the board have a bias from the very beginning against people of color, minorities, things like that. So what I ask then is, should it not be, as we say, there's legislation that says, oh no, you have to not let discrimination matter, because if you let that matter, then you are preventative of actions. So, like this says, and I'm using a piece of
I'm following you.
A piece of paper, but no, for people listening, it's two people running on a pallet on one side, but on the back it's just all white. So I'm going to use this piece of white paper on the back, and then I'm saying on this white ballot, this is an equal playing field. But that's a fact. But if I tell you right now that if I tell you equality is already biased due to the fact on one side.
You guys have a good night, man.
You guys have a good night as well, my man.
Enjoy, man. Get up safe, all right?
Yes, sir.
If I tell you that equality or fairness is heavily weighted on a different side just due to preference, then it's just like, oh no, judgment is not fair then. Why is it not fair? Because people who are not a person of color have benefits of being non-colored. They're just like, wait, how is this fairness into passing a judgment of them? And it's just like, wait, no, the conversation should begin. Everyone's an even playing field. No matter what, in the United States, across the world, there is no even playing field. You cannot start an even playing field until civil society is reconstructed to the point where fairness and equality start at a grounding point that is equal to each other. And I mean equal to each other as if they are starting from the zero point of view of each other, and are raising.
Do you offset that?
Offset that?
Where you're coming from.
So what I mean is they should start from 0 to 0, not 10 to 0, not 10 to 10. How do you do it?
Because now that you have a great point.
Yeah.
An excellent point. But now how do you execute something whereas, you're talking for a ratio and another person's talking for another ratio?
Yeah, no. So
how do we get that in the collective?
Some people are going to say social experiment. Some people are going to say you collapse civil society. What I really think is you need to have a constructive criticism across the board, collective minds, radical studies, things like that. But from the beginning point is you and I are having a collective conversation. Correct. And we both say, let's start at 0. You and I agree to the 0 point. Right. A third point in this conversation, the bartender, a random person, say, no, don't start at 0, start at 5. But someone else starts at 5 and you guys start at 0. No, that doesn't make it fair in this conversation because someone starts with advantage. The collective conversation needs to have a complete agreement that the starting ground is always going to be 0, and we make our way forward collectively. Is there going to be advantageous points? Yes. Could you and I see something differently while we're going from 0 to 1? Yes. Can we get 0 to 1 faster? Yes.
Right.
But the point should be we get to 1 fairly.
Right, but now let's put it like March Madness.
Trust me, I know the brackets.
The brackets, right? So now we got
the
2 championships.
Yeah.
Right, we got the championship now.
Mm-hmm.
We got the finals.
Yeah.
It's one team versus the other team.
Yeah.
But now look at the road that they traveled. Right?
Two different roads.
Right?
One could be easier, one could be harder. I hear you on that.
So now I'm about to reverse it now.
Yeah.
So now you got we in the championship.
Yeah.
It's you and I.
Yeah.
We're representing two different factors, correct?
Yeah.
So now, two different sides.
Yeah.
But now here's the thing. Those teams that we just ran through are now supporting us.
Yeah. The
So
teams
now-
I beat and the teams you beat should supporting you.
Exactly.
The teams I beat should supporting me because I did better than them.
Exactly. So now I'm trying to figure out, because like I said, you made a great point. So now the question I'm asking you now, which I'm trying to figure out, is how do we now herd the sheep together in order to agree on one page in order for us to be at that podium at that time?
So that's a great point. What I think needs to be, we as players, we as, we'll use March Madness example. I go to my team and I tell them whoever wins or lose at the end of the day is the better team, the better players, because they beat us on a better day. I could make the argument. That's how any final should be. You were the better player at the end of the day. Just like you can tell your team or your fan base, I was the better team. To herding the sheep, we need to inform them that at the end of the day, you don't create problems or hatred for the other team.
Time out. You see that part though?
Yeah.
We need to inform them. That's the mandate. That's the part that's going to be the friction in everything. So now, we have to remove that component right there.
Okay.
First and foremost.
But it's not our job to inform them. It's the collective.
So at
the end, how does March Madness happen? March Madness is a collegiate sport, and then March Madness is supported nationally. So our fan base is across the country.
Right, but we still need that because I'm gonna show you why. Because we're representing a
two different sides of the bracket. I hear you on that.
But when we get together,
we're the finals.
We're representing a league.
Yeah, we're representing.
So we still control the masses. So
Yeah.
this is why it's what you just said is kind of like false. You gotta change the narratives on that one and look at it like we still have to care what everybody else does.
I mean, we should care.
We're representing them.
Look, I have a great example. What's your favorite college team? If you had one.
College game?
College team.
Team. Yeah. UConn.
You're a UConn fan. I'm a Gonzaga fan. I went to Gonzaga for 6 weeks. Big fan of them.
I actually like the basketball team.
So let's just say that you're UConn, I'm Gonzaga. UConn has one of the greatest women college basketball teams.
Yeah.
Gonzaga had one of the greatest basketball teams. So let's just say in that narrative, you're the UConn men's team. I'm the Gonzaga men's team, and I'm coming from the West Coast. You're coming from the East Coast. At the end of the day, we're both in the finals. I could have the entire West Coast on my side. You could have the entire East Coast on the side. At the end of the day, when we're both in the finals, we need to be able to say, hey, if I lose, East Coast teams were better than me because of how their fundamentals, how their belief in how to play basketball. Just like if you were to tell your team, because that's the end of the day, we both play basketball. We both play at the end of the day the same sport from two different sides. It is equality at the end of the day because basketball shouldn't be something that is subjective. It's objective team sport. Right. Now, there's a difference between college basketball, street basketball. Correct. There's a difference between college basketball and NBA. There's a difference between college basketball, street ball. You have these differences. Or at the end of the day, we say performance basketball. That's, tricks and all that shit. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, the narrative should be, if you're an East Coast team, I'm a West Coast team, we both meet in the final, or we're two West Coast teams meet in the final, no matter what. We should still be able to say we represent the country at the end of the day when it comes to how do we play basketball. So it is equality, but it could be equality on two different sides of this country. It could be equality on two same sides of the country. But equality is only found is your team entirely white? Is your team entirely black? But at the end of the day, most college basketball teams are entirely black.
See, you can't. Hear me out. You can't worry about the entire. That's what I was saying. Mm-hmm. You got 16 other teams now, right?
Yeah.
You don't worry about if they're black, white, or whatever. This is all right. So, better this is my continent.
Okay, that's your side.
This is my side.
We
so
meet
I
in the
don't
middle.
care if they're black, white.
Yeah.
I need to get everybody on the same page.
Okay.
So now I need to wipe away whatever feud that you have. What can I do that can compensate so that way we can move forward?
You don't have to compensate. You won.
No, hear me out. No, you got to compensate.
Really?
Yes, because in order to get everybody on one page peacefully.
Oh, I see.
Peacefully. There's no forcing this. None. Everybody must be willing. I believe in just like the Bible. Once again, I'm going to quote the Bible. It says, even if a man works 8 hours or 1 hour, and you agree to that pay, you should pay it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying about equality. You understand? And justice. Like, so now justice comes when a man is not being equal.
Okay.
So now the punishment, like, it goes back in the day. So therefore, your punishment comes from, okay, so you know that you owe this man $500. You didn't pay him his $500. You now have to go do some time because that's the just amount of. So that way, that time is going to pay off this man for what you owed him. We might have to charge you a little bit extra and a little bit extra for us having to step into, but that's fair.
Yeah, it is.
And you must understand that, sir, that you did that and you must take up to it. A lot of people don't know how to own up.
Oh, no, of course.
So now that's where we need to now get everybody to understand that, yo, listen, we're all not right.
Yeah.
And instead of sitting there pointing the finger, because it's wasting time from us building a future, let's figure out a common denomination. And let's a common denominator.
Okay.
Because we need to turn this improper fraction to a proper fraction, so we can break it down to a decimal and get to this percentage. You understand what I'm saying? So we need to go through the proper steps.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying about equality and justice, the proper steps. So now, if you, like I just said, if you owe that man, you should pay that man.
You should.
If you chose not to pay him, there is no excuse to, I made a deal with that other man. No. You should have been honest with yourself and knew that you wasn't capable of doing two things. So therefore, instead of looking at this man for amnesty, you should be understanding that man is looking at you for amnesty.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So, no, that's what we need to get everybody to understand in order for that concept that you just said to come to fruition. So now we have to think about safe boundaries in order to get
boundaries.
Exactly.
Okay. So to me, boundaries is always going to be something that is hard to discuss because that is something that's always going to be in flux. You know, you can't congregate the herd in the best example. But what I do think we do, and we'll use this piece as a backboard, we use both our phones, for example.
Yeah.
And I think what it should be is to the fact that is if you say, hey, West Side versus East Side, at the end of the day, we need to both agree in the middle that we both create good music. Fine, we can create good music, but there's going to be different tastes in our music.
Right.
Fair. How do we get the collective to understand that our music is both equal? We both create rap music, we both create rock music, we both create music at the end of the day.
You don't have to get them to do anything as long as we both agree.
Yes, you and I.
We both agree that our music is different in certain ways, but it's still beautiful music.
True.
And none is greater than other is beautiful music.
Okay, so that means our music is the hierarchy. That's the starting point and it spills over.
And that's it.
So let me then ask you this. If you and I were to disappear, no longer exist in the vacuum, how do we get our following to continue to follow what we preached?
Because now we need to get together because technology has allowed us to now get together at the same time, even when we're not in the same place.
Yeah. Because
On
at the end of the day,
same camera.
Exactly, because that's what we're saying. If we use both our phones in this vacuum, if we were to exist in here, you would go that way, and I would say the feud still exists. Someone's going to replace us.
Right.
Newer phones, newer people. Are they going to follow your agenda or my agenda? No, they can disagree. They can agree to the agenda. They're going to still fill the vacuum that we left.
But now let me show you something. We are going to put them in a position where they have no choice but to follow the structure.
Okay, so that means no matter the structure that you and I put in place, that is the structure
it's implemented and it's stuck there.
Okay.
It's like, for instance, Soul Train, Don Cornelius, but he never hosted all.
No, he didn't.
He had different people, but you just know Don Cornelius.
Yes.
You see that? That's what a lot of people forgot how to do. A lot of people forgot how to
follow structure.
Right.
Okay.
We're gonna go back to the old.
Okay, so now let me ask you this. So learn from the old, but how do you tell your kids and your grandkids future